I thought I'd take a minute to share what I've been playing with here lately. And this is a marine aquarium. And it's an interesting little setup because just about everything in this tank is alive. Even if you look at the rocks, and the rocks don't really have anything that you would think would be alive, there are a lot of little organisms that live inside these rocks, therefore they're termed live rock. Now, the first thing you'll notice about aquariums, whether you're talking about saltwater aquariums or freshwater aquariums, is they all have water and they all have gravel. Now, the important thing to remember is these fish basically swim around in their own toilet bowl. That being said, there's an accumulation of toxicities and waste that needs to be addressed. So, in order for the nitrates and the ammonia to become less toxic, you need to have bacteria that take those toxic chemicals and turn them into something that's less toxic. So in order for bacteria to grow, bacteria will grow on the glass, they'll grow on the sides and on the bottom of the glass, but you'll get an awful lot more bacteria growing if you look at each individual pebble that supplies a surface for bacteria in which to grow. Therefore, you have an increased total surface area. So all tanks will have gravel for that reason. That little guy there, that fish there, is called a sailfin tang. Obviously, the dorsal fin, when he's swimming around all majestic like, is like a sail, and thus he gets the name. This little guy here with the little feather looking things on him is actually called a feather duster, and he also is a live organism. That little guy with the green spots on it is a live coral. That's a zoanthella. And this little guy here with all the little branches, they almost look like little palm trees or little ferns. If you notice closely, those little ferns, those little hands open and close. Open and close. And what they are is they're filter feeders, and as the current moves the little small particles of food around, they just kind of open and close, little Venus flytraps, and grab it. That back there is also a coral, and if you look closely, you may not be able to see it very clearly in this particular picture. There are little polyps on that coral. A lot of these corals have little polyps, even that guy there. Corals will shed skin periodically, and you can see that one's got a small amount of a mucus type membrane as he's adjusting to the changes within the tank. These little guys, those little green and red tentacled organisms, they're alive as well. They're called anemones. And you'll notice the clownfish that's bobbing up and down in that anemone. He's a maroon and white clownfish. And they have a symbiotic relationship in that normally those anemones will sting fish, but the slime coat on that clownfish enables him to kind of seek refuge in that anemone without being stung, offering him a little bit of protection, and then he can go grab some food and he'll go ahead and feed that anemone at the same time. There's a little yellow wrasse, and that's another wrasse, that little fairy wrasse is what he's called. As we go through other parts of the tank, I want you to notice this is another version of that xenia coral rather than a blue xenia. That's what they call a pulsating xenia. And then you can notice the polyps on that rabbit coral very easily, and again, those polyps are what allow those corals to feed. This is a finger leather. You can also see the polyps as you look closely on that. And then those are little button polyps. So there's a lot of living stuff in here that you wouldn't exactly think is alive until you take a closer look. Also, in order to clean up all the little detritus and waste products and what have you, there's a combination of snails and crabs, and all of these things make for a complete fish tank. Basically, that's it. I just wanted to share it with you, and I hope you enjoy that video.